Reynor to figure that out and decide how he wants to react, because he's actually, like, if we do start seeing quite a bit of mech, Reynor has had some very different opinions on how to deal with mech as Zerg anyways. But before we really get too far into that, we'll see what these guys are going to open with. Here we are, map 1, Ancient Cistern, and in the top right, our Zerg player, a former champion here in Katowice, it's Reynor.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have our blue Terran player from Storm Gaming. Give it up for GuMiho. So Dan, one of the things I want to ask you about is that kind of battle mech style and stuff. We haven't seen it as much recently. So what are the kind of things that you look out for to see whether or not it's like maybe a good map or a good situation to kind of bust something like that out?
Well, okay, so I think you can technically use mech kind of anywhere. The size of the map should probably dictate what way you're playing the mech. Like a big, wide open map, you're probably going to need to go with that battle mech, right? Like, you need to be running around the place. It's got a ton of mobility, you know, between all the Blue Flame Hellions and the Cyclones in there. You mix in some Banshees, and you have a fighting force that you literally want to be active with the entire time.
Yeah, no, I think that absolutely makes a lot of sense. And having that kind of mobility and everything, trying to pull your opponent apart, you always have that beautiful image of that battle mech style where you have the Cyclones and the Hellions just kind of running around, finding angles where maybe the Zerg player is not prepared and trying to clean up a lot of that creep threat. So we'll get to see probably in a couple of minutes whether or not GuMiho is actually going to go down that route. But for now, it's going to be that kind of standard opening. We get the Reaper up, and we should be seeing a pretty normal kind of TVZ shaping up first.
Yeah. I mean, a Reaper expand, that's about as standard as you can get. Reynor just going ahead, expanding himself. Probably going to go into that third hatchery. It'd be very surprising if he did anything else. But you never know. I feel like in every matchup, there's really one side that's going to kind of decide the pacing of the game. Like, of course, Reynor, he could pull the trigger and try to do something crazy aggressive, but the best way for him to play here is to figure out what GuMiho's up to.
Yeah, I really like the decision to try and go for something that maybe enables him to get some better scouting information. And, well, he's going to be, of course, dealing with some of those early little Reaper shenanigans and stuff. What does that sign say?
Reynor.
Reynor, okay. I'm glad you have better eyesight than I do.
Yeah, I guess.
Beautiful sign.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming down. Awesome seeing so many StarCraft fans here early in the day. Oh, just barely getting out of there.
That's a good snag. Again, we following that Artosalope. Artosalope leading them to victory there, man.
I am GuMiho's #1 supporter amongst the casters. How dare he? But look, this has actually been a pretty good Reaper so far, honestly. Like, he has slowed down this expansion a lot. The Queen started to come out and now has turned around as he has decided to expand in the other direction.
No, absolutely. And all these little early game victories definitely start to give you a better feeling at the very first match of the day and everything. Picking up a creep tumor as well. This Reaper's already gotten 5 times more damage than most Reapers just normally manage to get in the TVZ.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. Like, slowing the third base that much, followed by killing off a creep tumor. That is a very high-quality Reaper so far from GuMiho.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's continuing to get all of that information. And back at home, that third command center, you know, that's it's almost done. So this just looks pretty strong so far for GuMiho.
Yeah, I'm definitely digging it, and I feel like those first matches of the day and everything, all these little things can also, it's not just about how the game itself shapes up, it's about how you're feeling. And we're talking about how Reynor, it looks like he's still been winning his games. We have to hand it to Reynor, but he has had a little bit of shakiness here and there in some of the games.
Yeah.
He's been dropping a few extra maps here or there, having closer series versus, say, Astray and stuff. So it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for, see how he's going to be feeling about this game.
No, it certainly is the case. Like, you know, we've been watching a lot of Reynor's games, and someone brought up, like, maybe he's saving his best stuff for, like, the other guys that can win the tournament. But I mean, you can't be going easy on GuMiho, so I feel like he has to bring out his top end stuff now. This is a former GSL champion.
Yeah, and also just to stress the format for this event, as we do actually have the Hellion drop heading on in over to the main base. It looks like it is going to get spotted and finds a little angle actually over here. Evolution Chamber comes down to try and wall those Hellions off from getting into the mineral line. Another Evo Chamber, really well placed over there. The Queen is also picking away at that medevac. So many hit points going down actually. early.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get out of there. Not too much damage done. He is trying to get something done there, though. And look, it's still Hellion production, and an armory is about to finish. So it's like, well, you could use those for Hellbats, but is this going to be mech? We don't see additional barracks. We don't see stim. There's the cloak.
All right, Artosis, I'm getting pretty excited about this, actually. Because if GuMiho is going to start heading down that route, it is a very fun style to check out. Overlord's going to come in. It's at about half hit points, but there's nothing there to really deny it at the moment from scouting around and seeing that tech lab on the starport.
Dude, he's getting armor right off the bat. I absolutely love it. GuMiho, just so much fun. Here come the factories and the based Gumi God going for mech.
Oh my god, I love it. And he does it on directly underneath the Overlord. I just love, he doesn't care about hiding it. He's not like, oh no, what if Reynor scats his eyes? He's like, no, I know what I'm about. I know my business here.
Yeah, this is really exciting because, there have been all these questions. Everyone's been talking about the mech, and is it that good? Here's the thing. GuMiho, without any doubt, is the best mech player. In the past, there was like a period of time where mech wasn't used. It was considered completely obsolete in this matchup. And then GuMiho is the player that reinvented it, showed that it can win, and literally won a GSL. So, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, now really interestingly, we do actually have 2 drop overlords that just morphed in over there for Reynor. He's got them loaded up, I believe, with, are they roaches in there, or are they
I think they're queens.
Okay, yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to be queens, and we may be seeing a really big attack here and on up here. Reynor is halted at 62 workers. The roaches are pushing back these Hellions. The Banshees are going to be extremely helpful with this kind of defense here, but the queens are going to be vital to try and snipe them out of the sky.
Now, does he actually have something to see that Banshee? He does indeed. There's the Overseer. Very, very good. The Hellbat's going to be able to tank quite a bit, and a ton of SCVs being pulled, trying to surround everything. The Queens throwing out transfuses.
But both of the Banshees have actually already gone down to the Queens, and now the Queens are just working away at the SCVs. Transfuses continuing to heal up these Queens. Roaches annihilating all the ground forces, and Reynor hits the perfect window, the perfect timing, the perfect build to just hard shut down that opening.
Well, maybe this is why he was saying it was so good, because he had a sick timing to knock it out. That was beautifully done by Reynor. And to pick up a victory that quickly against GuMiho, bringing out a strategy that he might not be ready for other than that build, that's like a really good opener. Wow, I'm very impressed with Reynor.
I love also there's little tidbits in the execution of how that works, because you're talking about the Banshees and how they can just whittle away things. You were talking about how you got to move those away. The Queens are going to be able to drop there, but you're pulling the SCVs. But just the fact that the drop overlords immediately, they didn't just drop kind of in the back lines and say, we're here to support and transfuse. They went directly underneath the Banshees and dropped over there. They knew their job. There was a target fire there. There was a lot of that kind of extra little actions put into just ensuring he could deal with all of the opportunities GuMiho had to defend.
Yeah, and GuMiho, I think if he wants to continue to go mech, I'm not sure exactly how many times he may have that planned per series, but if he wants to continue, he has to take into consideration this timing from Reynor.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? That was a very greedy mech build that he did, right? A very fast third command center, not that many units. He's trying to harass with Hellions. The Cyclones were not coming out very quickly. Like, he had just started magfield accelerators when the drop came. So he's going to have to really adjust if he wants to play that again.
And that's what I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about, Dan. In a situation, imagine you're GuMiho, and I don't know what GuMiho's plan was for game number 2, where it looks like we're going to head on to Neo-Humanity for that map. But you imagine that GuMiho was planning to go for that same kind of opening.
Yeah.
And that just happens. Like, game number 1 just happens. You have to make some adjustments and stuff. How far do you try and adjust outside of what maybe you were originally planning or practicing and stuff? Do you say like, oh, maybe I should not go mech, or do you just say, I'm gonna see if I can make adjustments to this opening to make it a little safer?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think that that's going to be the way that he's going about it, if he needs to hit that sort of timing attack, maybe you just delay that third command center a little bit, right? Get an additional factory or 2 up a little bit quicker, get those Cyclones out a little bit quicker instead of the heavier Hellion play, because that's the thing. The Hellions don't really deal much damage to Roaches and Queens.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're like getting a third base and at the same time trying to harass everything with Hellions, it's like, okay, well, you don't really have anything at home, and Reynor knows that.
No, that's a really good point. I'd love to see those kind of adjustments. Just trying to cut back up maybe a bit on that greed and just saying, okay, there's this opportunity for you to maybe come out with something. Even just being more aware of that possibility and then making sure that you have a few more things put into place to try and handle something like that. Would love to see something like that, but seems like we're just kind of waiting on the players to be ready for that go-go to start up on game number 2. But again, this is, I was kind of bringing this up before, this is potentially going to decide who comes out first in the group. With this format for Katowice, the winner of the group, the player who gets out first in the group, plays one less round in the playoff bracket. That's one less round versus a potential Serral or a Showtime or a Hero Marine or a Dark. Or it's a big deal to get out first in your group.
Yeah, going straight into that round of 8, like you win a bunch more prize money. You're going to be less fatigued. There's a lot of upside to it. So definitely these guys going to bring out their best, despite the fact that both are almost guaranteed to advance already.
Absolutely. Looks like players are getting ready. GuMiho warming up his hands there. Still got that towel. I think he has an assortment of towels at this point. As the last time I saw on his desk.
The towel tearing himself, man. Keep those hands dry so he can execute his builds. And we are just about ready to get into this game. Here we go. Game number 2 on Neo Humanity. In the bottom right, we have Reynor.
And here in the top left, from Psystorm Gaming, he is GuMiho.
Quite the crowd already here. Really, I'm just so pleasantly surprised with how many people have come right at the beginning of the day. They don't want to miss a second of the StarCraft action. And, well, I mean, that game was like a little bit anticlimactic, but so far today, the games have been great.
I think, yeah, I've loved to see the crowd there. I just want to actually do a shout out to all the people that actually did run into as well, as I ran down over there to check out and see how many people were at the signing sessions that have been going on as well. I saw like a solid line of like 40, 50 people. I'm like, oh,
that's awesome.
I don't have time to go to the signing session and go get Mara's signature.
Yeah.
But even the crowd actually have been really, really awesome to see you guys all hanging out there, bringing life back to that StarCraft action in Europe. Great to see.
Yeah, this game will never die. So, what are we going to see here from GuMiho? Reynor had that absolutely excellent Queen drop and Roach Rush build there. It did well. GuMiho, I'm sure, there was more time in between game 1 and 2 than I feel like we normally have. So I think that was most likely GuMiho going over things in his head. Like, maybe adjusting his plan. Maybe he says, you know what, instead of 2 mech and a bio game, maybe I'm going to go 1 mech and 2 bio games. Something like that, right? Or maybe he's just kind of brainstorming like, how can I change this? How can I alter the way that I'm playing this that I'm immune to such an attack?
Yeah, Neo Humanity also has some kind of interesting parts about it where you have those gold minerals that you can see right next to the natural where you can mine that out, potentially take a slightly easier to defend third base location where there's going to be that choke point you can try and defend through. You just wall off your natural, and maybe things like that make even defending an attack like what Reynor was doing a little bit easier. The distance across the map that the Queens would have to run through with the Overlord through, also a lot longer.
Yeah, and when you have a tucked back expansion like that, maybe you want to go for siege tanks for those defensive units. There's a lot of different ways to go into mech as well. Like you could do a battlecruiser rush into mech. That's actually one of the more popular ways to do it.
Yeah.
Although that does present some weaknesses against like Roach Corruptor timings and whatnot. At the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see, though, what GuMiho is going to do. You can't really look at it this early and figure it out, right? It's like, well, you need to make some Marines, and here comes the factory, probably into Hellions, and that doesn't really tell you the story.
No, 100%. I think it's we're going to have to wait a little bit to see where our questions are going to be answered. But I will say, like, I really liked the start that GuMiho got in that first game. And now in the second game, he is doing a very peculiar move out.
Yeah.
4 Marines and SCV on this side of the map, but it looks like it is heading home, and this is going to be the first that really Reynor gets wind of this.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a surprise. You normally don't see 4 Marines on the map right now. The fact that he runs up and gets an Overlord kill, that's like not only surprising, but that's some quality damage. Like that will hiccup the build. Like Reynor he gets supply blocked. He has to get another Overlord out. He's 100 minerals behind where he planned to be right now.
Oh, that's so annoying for Reynor, and it's such a weird move that normally it's actually hitting right around the time that the Marines kill the Overlord and Zergling speed finishes. If Reynor knew that this was like something or GuMiho was planning to do, you make like an extra set or two of Zerglings and you get to kill all of those Marines. Like you actually manage to punish that a little bit. You can pull the Overlord back maybe a little bit faster, but it's just being able to catch him off guard is great.
Yeah, now, third command center gets started. The Lings do not get up to scout it. And he started a Banshee for a second, canceled the Banshee, and went into Raven. This is not very common in Terran vs. Zerg to get an early Raven out. Now, obviously, you could use it for harassment with those drones, but, you know, if you have a bunch of Hellions, you could run around and, you know, try to get rid of some of the creep tumors early game as well.
Yeah, I think we used to actually see a little bit of this kind of style of getting up that early Raven, cleaning up creep tumors, maybe even throwing down some auto-turret harassment. For now, Hellions actually target firing down these Queens alongside the Marines, getting quite a bit of damage done to the Queens, but not able to actually kill any of them just yet. A lot of the Marines also end up dying. The Lings all mostly churn through, but the entire Terran force is gone.
Yeah, he definitely lost a lot of units there. You know, the Hellions, you know, obviously they don't scale that well, so it's like sometimes you lose them and it's okay. But look at this, the counter harassment with the Lings doing a lot. Yeah, 8 workers this early into the game is huge.
It's not even cleaned up yet. Only the Raven is there actually to retreat back home. It seems like there's 2 Hellions in production. Where are the rest of the units?
They died to the Queens. You know,
there was nothing else in production, I guess.
Man, this is, like, GuMiho is having a very hard time in this series so far. That attack not doing that much, his build a little bit weird and not really doing much for him so far. 12 SCVs, 13 SCVs. I'm actually in shock. 13 SCVs dead at this point in the game, that's brutal.
That almost feels like that could be very well game-ending damage. I mean, if GuMiho ends up just kind of getting bopped in the next like few minutes, I feel like we'll literally point back to the Lings getting all that additional damage done. Not just the army kind of dying, but literally the Lings getting that much damage done when even just a handful more units would have been able to save that.
I know, right? Like, even if he had 2 Hellions out, he's not going to lose 13 SCVs.
And 13 producing add-ons or something?
Yeah, it has to be. You know, he was just swapping things around and everything. Maybe he thought he could just keep Reynor on the other side of the map because he did bring that, you know, pretty sizable early game army across, but unfortunately lost it too quick. Now, there's some good moves going on by GuMiho right now. He just got rid of a lot of creep tumors. You know, during the failed attack before, he got a couple as well. So the creep has been kept in check pretty well. But I kind of like where Reynor is going with this. He's just going to go into Lingbane Muta and kind of surprises him there. Gets basically a free kill on that Raven that didn't end up doing what I think GuMiho wanted it to.
Yeah, I think it maybe spotted out a handful of creep tumors and then ends up getting picked off. Didn't really end up getting any kind of big auto-turret harassment either. Now, the Lings are going to be trying to maneuver around to deal with that attack, but the Mutas are getting additional worker kills over here to an already very hurt economy. The Banelings are not finished morphing, though, Dan, and that could very well pose a massive threat over here as the Marines are stutter-stepping in, stimming forward onto these Queens. There's just not that Baneling support, and Baneling speed still very far off as well.
Yeah, pretty decent. Stim was actually a little bit slow there. He does finally end up getting it, and I don't think he's going to, like, end up... Yeah. Wow.
I am actually a little bit in disbelief there, but really excellently done there by Reynor. Gives the thumbs up as well.
I tell you, that was a quick series. I was actually really